me just say that this isn't my home. We're in a hotel, very nice, and very flash, but it's not where I live. I became involved in the show because I got a call from my agent and I got an audition for it, and I had many interviews for the part of Phoebe, and I seem to remember I had to travel, I think it was somewhere like Birmingham, to finally audition with Nicholas in front of a room full of people. It was very intimidating, and then I got offered the part, and it was, you know, from there on in, did what I had to do. I was aware of certainly Nicholas Lyndhurst's work in Goodnight's, in Only Fools and Horses and various other programmes, but I didn't know anyone else. So it was always very daunting. It's always very nerve-wracking. It's like the first day of school and you walk in and you just hope that you're going to be good and that no one's going to fire you when you have your first initial reading of the script, and fortunately they didn't. And it was, you know, it was really pleasant. It was really lovely. But they're all very lovely people. I thought it was a great premise for the series. I thought it was really interesting, this idea of having this character from the future coming back to the past. And in a way, he sort of was almost so alien, his ability to innately, intuitively have these ideas about what was going to happen next. And for Phoebe, her complete amazement and delight and surprise at this outrageous, quite weirdly macho character, and yet he was quite passively macho about it. I thought it was a great idea, and I think the public responded to it enormously. You know, it was a real success. I think I was very grateful that by series 2 there was a strength there, an emotional strength and a development, and I think it made it much more interesting for me to play. I think one of the main difficulties I had as an actress was trying to sustain the sense of naivety and greenness without her coming across as completely stupid and ignorant all the time, which was understandable. Here you had this character from the future who was dashing and funny and smart and witty, and who amazed her continuously with his incredible insight into what was going to happen next, almost his uncanny ability to suggest this is going to happen. And I think it was very, if there hadn't been that emotional development by series 2, it would have become very one-dimensional. But I think they really managed to create something that was just enjoyable for me to play. Well, we have dark hair, we have pale skin. No, not really. I don't think so. I don't see it, but if other people do, that's fine. But I certainly don't have her naivety, that's for sure. I'd have loved to have had the chance to sit down with the writers and suggest things. I certainly had many ideas, but I didn't have the confidence, and I didn't really have the ability to communicate with them. I was very in awe of everyone. I mean, it was nearly 10 years ago, and it was a big break for me. And I was working with people who were highly skilled and highly experienced, and I pulled back. I was very quiet and sat there and just did what I had to do and tried to do it to the best of my ability. I mean, you got to remember that shooting a sitcom, you shoot in front of cameras, but you also shoot in front of a live audience. So the first night that I ever did it, I was like a robot, because the fear that I experienced was just, I mean, it was terrifying. It was absolutely terrifying. So I would have loved to have had an input, but I'm afraid I didn't speak up. Yeah, I was. But I think I was surprised by the show's success because I am contrary to what people think, I'm actually deeply insecure and nervous, and I always question what I'm doing. And, you know, at that time, I think we were getting 13 million viewers, I seem to remember. And that was an enormous amount of people watching and writing in and being so warm and appreciative. And I had never really experienced that. I had never been regularly once a week on television in something that had struck such a chord with all generations, because it wasn't just geared at people who had survived the war. It was geared at their grandchildren who could sit there with them comfortably, knowing that they were going to get maybe a slightly sugary lesson on that period of British history. But nevertheless, it gave them some insight as to what their grandparents had suffered and went through. And I thought the series and the show handled that very well. And I thought that certainly when you went back into the 1940s, the set design, the props, the costumes were so accurate. I thought it was wonderful. But I think it had that nostalgia, and it had a sentimentality about it that the public really liked. It was easy viewing, and it was entertaining. It was warm. What more can you ask for? You know, I think the chemistry that we shared has to be down to the casting of me and him together, because chemistry is that indefinable, wonderful ingredient. Is there such a word as indefinable? Let's start that again. Chemistry is, as people know, it's very rare to find, and I think it's very hard to generate chemistry if it doesn't naturally exist. I certainly couldn't put my finger on why it was there. I think it was all down to the casting, and we were very good together. I mean, I really enjoyed working with him. He's a very, very sweet, private, kind man, and I think he could see that I was very green, very inexperienced, and was very caring with me. But I think chemistry is in the luck of the draw. I really do. There are times when I've done jobs where you think there's going to be chemistry, and it just isn't there. I do think it's all down to the casting, and that's why they had such a difficult and long journey, I think, to find the right person for that part. I mean, I seem to remember I went to 3 or 4, maybe 5 interviews. It felt like that anyhow. It was very long and protracted, the whole audition process. So I put it down to an outside talent rather than my own, definitely. It was a really hard decision to leave, and it was a decision that, upon reflection, I regret. And it was a decision that I think I was forced into by many external voices, let's put it that way, where I was getting a lot of chatter, basically telling me to do things at that time. I had just also come out with Ballycus Angel, and it had really taken off again. That was a massive hit, but it was a completely different character. And agents and friends and lots of people who really didn't have any and shouldn't have any influence in a career were telling me to move on. And again, my insecurity and my inexperience, and I listened and made that decision. I think, to be fair, because I have to take responsibility for myself and my decisions in life, I think that 3 years is a long time. And I know it doesn't seem like that from an audience point of view. But 3 years playing the same character, especially if they don't really move on massively, if there aren't very demanding storylines. And it's not about I've got to explain this, it's not about having more to say, it's just about having a bit of a challenge when you go into work. I felt that I wasn't getting that challenge. And understandably, you know, we had a leading man, and it was his show. And everyone worked with him in that sort of ensemble way. But I think all those factors contributed to me leaving the show. Well, Elizabeth and I knew each other. Elizabeth rang me up and said, Derv, she said, how much did you get paid for this series? They're paying me X. What were you paid? And I told her. And I have great affection for Elizabeth, and I know she has that for me. So I was delighted that someone really good and very similar, really, got a chance, you know, and I was glad that I hadn't hindered the show too much, you know. After all, everyone's dispensable in life. Do you know what I mean? I think people. Anyhow, I thought she did a very good job. You'd be editing that one. It's very tricky when talking about people are taking over. They do a very valid, and she did do a very good job. And she always is going to be compared to me, and it's really unfair, I think, to make comparisons. I think you've just got to wipe the slate clean and allow that actor or actress to be appreciated for what they do. It's really tricky. It's not a good place to be. I certainly wouldn't want it to come in and take over someone, especially playing the exact same part. I would prefer someone to write a new part for me so that I could really put my mark on it. But she did a great job. I would actually, but I don't think they'd offer it to me. I think I caused them too much trouble by leaving the series when I did. I think it would be amazing, actually, but I don't know how or where. How would they do it? I mean, where would it sort of... I think, to be fair, if they did reprise it, would have to go to Liz, because she took over. That would be fair. How does a girl from Ireland end up playing an East End Cockney barmaid? I don't know. I mean, it's just the luck of the draw. You got to remember, I started acting when I was 15. And I came over to England to do a play called A Handful of Stars by Billy Roach. And that's where I got my big break, because that's where it was a huge success. It was a great part, and I got my agent. And, you know, although it always looks like, when you look at people's careers, that it looks easy. It almost looks as if everything is followed in a way that they've chosen. It's not. It's random, and it's luck. And I think, I mean, obviously I could do the accent and things like that, but there were a lot of factors, obviously, that got me that part. I had done the Time to Dance, so that there was a bit of interest about me. I don't know, why does an Irish... It's just the way it is. At least it was good casting. There wasn't any xenophobic casting there. It was genuine, you know. The right person got the job, basically, at the end of the day. And I obviously was right at the time. I had a look that they liked. I don't know why I became an actor. Why? I think to answer that truthfully, I became an actor because my mother was a huge influence and is a huge influence. She loved the arts. My mum was an English teacher, and was a fabulous teacher. And I think from a very early age, she encouraged that in all her daughters. Of course, she never dreamed that we would become an actress or would go into the acting profession, because it seemed so precarious from two parents who had very sort of straight-jacketed views on what you did with your life. But again, with me, you know, it was that thing of being in the right place at the right time. I had gone to acting classes as a kid. I got an interview for a job, and I got the job, and it did seem to happen very quickly after that. You know, I knew what I wanted. I knew at that stage I had no fear. You know, ignorance is bliss. You're 15, 16 years of age. You're going up for parts, and you're getting them, and you're thinking, okay, I can do this. But I certainly didn't have a clue what acting was about. And 18 years on, I'm still in it. I think, of course, I'd love to be much more successful than I am, but I think really the definition of being a success, whatever that is that I'm still working, and I'm still, you know, earning a living, and I'm managing to do very diverse things. I think it's the diversity of roles that really attract me, and also the different mediums. You know, I'm doing a play at the moment at the National, and that's a big deal for me, to walk on the Littleton stage every night and to play a raging alcoholic. It's great. And, you know, I'm like a nun. I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do drugs, I don't do anything. I don't even eat chocolate anymore. Basically, it's escapism, isn't it? And I think that's what I like about acting. And I love it. You know, I really love the job. I think I'd done a year of Goodnight, or maybe I'd done 2 years. I'm not quite sure about the details of this. People will write in and correct me. Again, just a simple thing of getting the audition, going for the audition. Now, I really was put through the mill for that one. I think I had 7 interviews for the part of Assumpta Fitzgerald. And I read with lots of actors to find again the chemistry that they wanted for that part. And basically, just got offered it and had no idea. See, people must look at certain people's careers and think, or look at my career and think, oh, she must have had an inkling of an idea that it was going to be a success. No idea. And that's not down to me being stupid. It's just you don't. It's like the lottery. You just have no idea that it's going to be received as well as it was. There you go. Waffling again. Again, I think my motivation for certainly leaving Ballycay was immediately I was associated playing stroppy Irish women. And however wonderful that character was, and there's no doubt about it, she was great, it was becoming very limiting for me as an actress. And again, in a curious way, when you're involved in something that is so successful, it can have an adverse effect in that that's all people associate you with. And so I left. And, I think I went on to do Hearts and Bones and various series and went back to the theatre, and I've always just tried to make my work as interesting for me and therefore, hopefully, interesting for an audience. I think it's too easy to take the money and just stay in a show comfortably. I think it's very dull for an actor. It's not stretching them. It's not demanding too much out of them. And I think if you're going to work those hours and really put in that kind of manpower as it is, you've got to be doing something that you're really passionate about. When you're young and footloose and fancy free, you have the ability to move on, because there are no responsibilities. The selfish responsibility you feel you have is to your talent and to searching for new challenges. But and what's harder as you get older is to try and maintain that drive, to maintain an element of that, and couple it with your very real life responsibilities, which I'm very grateful for. Actually, the show I'm involved in at the moment, when your readers, or your viewers, see this, it'll be well over and finished, but I'm working and doing a wonderful play by Brian Friel at the moment, a wonderful Irish playwright. And that has possibly, I think, in the last 10 years, been the most challenging and rewarding and utterly terrifying experience. A lot at stake, really, to be only known, let's face it, as a television actress. And there is a terrible snobbery, I think, in the business with that labelling. You really have to try and shake people's opinion of you. And, I know I've been terrible in jobs, and I've fallen flat on my face many times publicly. But I essentially do want to entertain people. And I think this job that I'm doing, Aristocrats, has really delivered that for me. It's really given me a sense of, I suppose, inner belief that I'm all right, that I can do it in front of a live audience. It's a rush, it's like going on the biggest roller coaster ride you could ever go on. I think I'd like to do comedy soon. I like comedy. I think comedy is much more challenging, to be honest with you. Yeah, there you go. Comedy.
Goodnight, sweetheart, all my prayers are for you. Goodnight, sweetheart, I'll be watching over you. Tears and parting may make us alone, but with the dawn, a new day is born.
It's all right, isn't it?
It's a lot.
Yay!